Yakuza! Like a dragon. Ishin. Guess this counts as a Yakuza game, right? It's kind of confusing. Like a dragon. Like the last game. Spin-off. But it's obviously still very much Yakuza. I don't know. Cool game. Before as soon as I knew that this game was a thing, I thought it was kind of weird and different. It's Yakuza, right? I was like, dude, give or take 7 games? 6 if you want to look at it that way, spin-offs. We've always been in Kamurocho, we've always been in Tokyo, we've always been Kiryu, if not Ichiban. It's, even after beating the game, I still don't really know what to think about it. I liked it for what it was, and there's nothing wrong with spin-offs. It happens, it's always been a thing. I don't know, like, okay, what was going through their minds? Like, you know, we've been so used to the same thing over and over. Every game's about the same, roughly, give or take. Hey, let's stick every character, give them new names, put them in ancient feudal Japan, give them swords and weapons and guns and, you know, things that weren't always super relevant back then, but they were a thing, sure. Didn't really get to use these as much, but the old one too. Which you still could do, but the fists were so... the fighting was like not really ideal. But yeah, even before playing and getting it, I had to think about it. By the time I realized it was coming out, I didn't really have much time to like debate on whether to get it or not, but I was like, dude, I've played all the Yakuzas except half of 4 and 5 and the zombie spin-off. I never finished Like a Dragon. But this came out, by the time I was able to kind of catch up with everything, not like you have to, but it would have been nice. But by the time this came out, I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll just get it, play it. I didn't really want it, to be honest, but it is Yakuza, it is Kiryu. Everyone's here. You know, you saw this from the trailers and stuff. You got Majima, you know, the whole gang. It was different though, like, it makes you, when you play it, you're thinking like, without having to look it up or anything, right? Is this like a timeline thing? Is this like their past lives? Did they travel back in time? Are they're just new names? It was just, it didn't fit. It was just very awkward. Like, you're so used to the city setting, these modern looking people. Not that back then was, people probably didn't look that much different or whatever, right? But it's like, dude, it just didn't really, something was wrong. Something felt really off the entire time that I played this. I just couldn't accept the fact that this is kind of where Yakuza is at right now. This is the latest and greatest Yakuza game that there is. I don't know. I don't think it was their best decision to make, because it sounds great on paper. Hey, let's take everything that was, make it something that it isn't, and there you go, you got a game. But here's my problem. I like Yakuza for what it was. The city, you know, going back in time, the tourism, the simulator, Japan, Tokyo. What in this game, I've seen this a billion times. And there's other games that do it better elsewhere. If I'm gonna play an ancient you know, feudal Japan style game, samurai, blood. I can think of a billion other games I'd rather be playing that fit that description. Granted, you get the realism of Yakuza. It's not too fantasy based, it's not too out there, it's not demons and blood and the usual kind of stuff. But there's a reason why things work that way and things work this way. Like, this game, I don't know. I think if you like Yakuza enough, if you're a fan enough, get it. If not, just fucking skip it, because it, I don't know. I liked it. By the time I finished it, I took it for granted, and I was just ready for it to be over, and I was rushing, like, I just want to beat this game and do some side stuff, but it wasn't a perfect game at all. It didn't feel like a next-gen game. It looked great. It played good. Granted, at first it was like, dude, the camera angles are awful. Half of the city felt just really empty and bare, and it felt unfinished, and there's slight graphical problems. There was like, you know, there was some bugs and glitches, and it just felt really like half-baked, undone, unfinished. Will it get better? I don't know. Are they gonna really mess around with that at all? I don't really see that, but you never know. They're always improving their game somehow, so I kind of trust them in that perspective. But and it also says on the game screen, hey, build version 1.01 or some shit, so obviously they're probably planning on doing something to it, but as of right now, it's just, I don't know. I don't really know what to think about it. But all in all, it's still a game. It's still a good game. Cutscenes were really immersive though.
だがお前らにも女を殴った報いを受けさせてやる。この命知らずが。かかってこい。ぬるま湯育ちのお前らに痛みってもんを教えてやる。
I can go back and forth on the game, its delivery, the way I feel about it, how biased I am towards everything this game kind of represents. But once again, I do think the cutscenes are the key point here. To be honest, I've never really enjoyed the gameplay as much as I wish I could have. Like, it's fun, but it's an open world. They try to do so much, they try to fit in so much. It's never really, like, nothing really hits. Everything's just kind of extra, bonus, whatever. But yeah, the cutscenes were great, and this is why the cutscenes are the key factor here, is because I've seen a bunch of Chinese movies. I've seen not so much Japanese live action, but a bunch of anime. That helps. Especially taking time in this period, and I do love it when they're just sitting there and they're talking. There's no radios, there's no music, there's no phones, there's no technology, there's no people yapping in the background, there's no cities, there's no cars, there's no TVs, there's nothing. And that was really nice. It was just nice to see people talk, and they weren't distracted. It was very ambient. You can hear the bugs in the background, the wind, the trees, you know, it was very chill. It was very calming and soothing and relaxing. Very much like anime, how you get them talking, and everything is just, the sound design is so well done. And when those cutscenes came on, it was boring. It was like, it wasn't quite as exciting, or you know, not as much to look at maybe as the other games, but it was still very much enjoyable. But that only can go so far. Like, I am so 50-50 with this game, because I love it and hate it so much at the same time. And all the other Yakuza games, give or take, oh, the gameplay sucks, but this is better. Oh, I liked what was in it regardless. They had something and they stuck with it, and they rolled with it. And then here, it's like everything just flipped upside down, a total 360. I didn't know what to expect when I went into this game. I went in blind, I didn't really know much about it. I had an idea of it, that was literally about it. I didn't look up any videos, and no leaks, no spoilers, no nothing. Completely open book. I was surprised to see that it did very much play like a Yakuza game. There are mini games, you can explore. It is open world, if you want to call it that. There's everything's still there. Taxis, stores, restaurants, exploring, abilities, they started the later Yakuza games, they did start to implement weapons and stuff a lot more, I think. You know, have some guns here and there, but they only lasted for so long. You'd have to repair them, you can modify them, all this weird stuff. So this game had that too. Unfortunately, I didn't have the patience here to mess around with any of the gunsmithing or the swordsmithing upgrades, materials. It was just a lot for me to handle, and I was already kind of stumped and confused the whole time playing as it was, that I was not willing to kind of go that extra mile. You know, which was a lot of the game. And it's kind of a shame I didn't make as much use of that as I probably could have, because they definitely did it better here, I think, than other games. Because they really pushed the whole, like, hey, you don't just have fighting. Like, dude, you could have a sword and a gun, a sword, a gun. So that was cool. It's different. I probably would have preferred either, like, 2 guns or 2 swords or something. I really liked the gun sword combo, but it was kind of weird. But yeah, there's sub-stories, there's completion points. I went to all the restaurants and, like, ate everything, but one thing that was surprising here is that you get penalized for eating everything. You're trying to get all the bonuses from completion points. And this time around, there's actually something you can get to get rid of that penalization. Because, yeah, every time, it's virtue in this game. It's not really whatever it was before. Just points, right? You just always use points. But here it's called virtue, but you get virtue from everything. From praying, from talking to people, from... I don't know, most games that I've played, I'm usually able to just kind of talk about it, and, you know, but here it's like, I really got to emphasize the fact that you might be in for more than you're bargaining for. The menu feels kind of slow. Some textures just like way off. It's not really as well put together, I think. It's kind of disappointing. Like, a lot of things do look really good. This is next gen. Unfortunately, there is a last gen version, and that might be what's kind of holding it back. I don't know. Yeah, and they did the whole deluxe edition, pay $10 extra, get all this junk, play 3 days earlier before anyone else. I didn't like that. I didn't like how a lot of games are starting to kind of do that now. I think it's kind of greedy, and for content creators, which are a lot of people, maybe not the majority, but a very good handful, you know, people are going to want to get in on early on this stuff and put it out there and make a review, stream it. And they're forcing you because they assume you have the money to pay that $10 extra. When, dude, it's so much more fair when everyone has the same game at the same time. Early access, if you're going out of your way to get early access, good for you. But this is kind of like a paid for early accessing, pay to play. And, I don't know. Granted, you know, if you want to get the standard edition, non-early access, non-pre-order, non-deluxe, it was like $60. If you want to get the deluxe, it's like 70, 75 with tax. I don't think it's worth it. You get a bunch of crap, you get these trooper cards, these abilities that, you know, they're they're cool, but they're kind of useless. They're nice to have though, I guess. I mean, on top of everything else. You get these shitty costumes that you can't even put on until, you know, probably, what, 2/5 into the game. You can't use them immediately, which is kind of garbage. You have to wear this generic gray shirt for like the longest time. But yeah, I just beat this not long ago. I did some side stories. I didn't want to do all of them though. I didn't like the game enough. I didn't like the sub stories. I thought they were very boring. Granted, back then you didn't have a lot to work with, man, but they just weren't as entertaining. They weren't as like wacky and goofy. They were just kind of there. It was very basic and lame and generic. Everything they did was just so fucking, dude, I was yawning the whole time. I was just tired. I just wanted to get the game over with. Did I have a good time playing overall? All in all, at the end of the day, yeah. But it was not how I wanted to spend my time. I put in long hours. I did like 12-ish hour, you know, sessions, but after a while, once I started to kind of get into it and knew what I was getting into, I just stopped caring. You know, you still had everyone here, Majima, Kiryu, the same voice actors. You got to see all these familiar faces, but all these enemies are now your friends. All of your friends are now your enemies, and it was just so off-putting and like, I don't know, you try to wrap your head around it, and I just don't think it's possible. Like, it's really hard to do. A lot of it does depend on, like, how do you sit on this game, though? How do you like it? How do you view it? How do you think about it? How biased are you towards it? Because those are going to be the things that are going to pop into your head once you start playing. Like, it's good, it's bad, it exists, you know, it's a thing, cool. I don't know. And they did such a classic thing, like, oh, you know, you're part of this elite thing and people die slowly. I've seen it so many times. Did I want to see that in a Yakuza fashion? In a Yakuza style formula? Not really. I didn't. Who asked for this game, dude? I didn't. Who was out there being like, hey, you know what would be cool? Let's put Kiryu, you know, back in the Edo period or whatever, right? Like, why? When I thought about it, I was like, hey, if they're trying to do something different, dude, we've been in Tokyo. Yes, it's Sega, it's Japanese, Japan. Dude, put Kiryu in America. Take him out of his element, bring him to a different country. The guy has to explore, right? He has to see the world. Why is he stuck in Japan? That's probably what they're gonna have to do at some point, because they cannot keep doing stuff like this, man. It's only gonna last for so long. They're pushing their franchise into the ground. You know, people have more expectations nowadays. People want more. People want something different, but yet the same. Don't change too much, but change just enough for it to like be a thing and make sense. And don't be afraid to go out of your element, or you try something different, new. And that's what they tried to do here, but to me, it failed completely. I was just disappointed. You know, there's a lot of games that do what they're trying to do here much better, with the combat, the swords, the gun. Well, it's unique, I'll give it that. But I don't know if I mean that in a good way. It's special, I'll give it some credit. Once again, I don't know if I mean that in a good way. Like, I don't know, dude. I didn't want to play more of the game than I probably would normally have. I wasn't interested in sticking around at all. By the final chapter, I was completely checked out. I was like, dude, I just want to get this over with. I want to finish these fights. I want it to be done. I didn't care about the story. I mean, I don't look at Kiryu like he's some other dude. I don't look at him like, oh, there's someone that existed back then that looks just like him, and oh, all these other people are here too. What a coincidence. I don't know. But you gotta realize there's a lot of games out there, and even I haven't played all of them. There's so many that I can't play all of them, but the ones I do like, those are the ones I'm gonna stick to. Because that's what they focus on, that's their sole directive and purpose, and... You know, they tried to, do something they probably weren't supposed to here, and... I find too many reasons to not like it. They tried too hard, they didn't deliver, they didn't finish, they didn't... It was just a game that's like floating out there, and it's just disappointing. It's so interesting, the concept. I like how experimental they are being. But it's just, it falls so flat for me. I hate to say this too, because like I don't want to just dog on the game and be negative. Like that's not really how I try to do things, but... I did want to get this out as soon as I even remembered. By the next day, I didn't even remember that I finished the game. I was so like distracted by wanting to play other stuff and do other things, and I was like, oh yeah, that Yakuza game. Maybe I should get on that, huh? I tried to finish it as soon as I could with, you know, within reason, but like, yeah, I don't know. It wasn't all bad though. The gameplay was alright. There was karaoke, which didn't really fit very well to me. So basically none of this is really spoilery because, you know, as different as it is on the surface, on the coding of it all, the outside of it, it's still very much Yakuza, and you know, that's probably the only thing that really kept me going. But yeah, got karaoke. It didn't really make much sense, but I didn't not believe it either. People sang back then and had instruments, you know. And they realized that karaoke is probably their strongest thing that there is in the game, so they had to carry that over. I get it. That's actually the first thing I ended up doing, was that. So they got a dancing mini game. That's actually not bad. It was a little confusing. There's still naughty stuff in this game like there is in every game. There's like a brothel section, which was very difficult, by the way. Never even finished that, unfortunately. There's like a naughty... there's like a live action naughty song in the karaoke. So yeah, same stuff, right? Just done differently. Yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch of sake and alcohol everywhere. There's good food. There was a lot of running around and kind of a different currency here, an old time currency, and yeah, some tips I'll probably give though, just at least one, if anything, is really work on that sprinting, because you're gonna spend a lot of time running around, which is normal, right? But here, at least in Kamurocho, everything was so condensed, so dense, right? You walk anywhere, you can get anywhere pretty quickly. And here, even with max sprint, you're still running around everywhere. You're still having to go all from one side of the town to the other. You know, you may not be able to afford taxis, or you'd like to spend that money elsewhere. The bad guys are still really spammy here. They just keep attacking you and coming at you. They're everywhere, waiting for you in the alleyways. Yeah. it's, I don't know. There's some fun parts. There was like a scarecrow training center that was kind of intense. Really tested you on how well you can do killing as many things as you can, as many guys as quickly as you can, as efficiently as possible. Which, if you've played any Yakuza games by now, you should probably be pretty good at that. Just kind of like punching, you know, 2-3 guys at once. Just getting those fights over with, man. That's one thing I do like. They do force you to kind of be really good at fighting. But they do kind of like, it's really spammy. I don't know. I mean, it's just more Yakuza. And this time around, unfortunately, not in a good way. I know it's easy to kind of shit on games and give them a bad rap. Oh, it's bad, it's mediocre, blah, 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 blah. But that is the truth here. That is how I feel. That's what I think. And that's what happened. And I wasn't really impressed. I was gonna play it and try it out regardless. See, that's the thing. It's one thing like knowing a game exists, seeing videos about it, whatever, but sometimes you do just have to kind of dive in and see for yourself. Is this game that bad? And I'm not even trying to give it like bad press is good press thing. Like, I'm not trying to do that at all. By being negative about it, I'm definitely not trying to incentivize the opposite and be like, yeah, I get it. It's great. You're not missing out on much if you don't play it. And I know it's easy to say when it is still a new, you know, relative game that's available to people as a consumer in the open market, but like I honestly looked at it as kind of a waste of money. But my curiosity got the best of me. You know, by the time I ended up getting it, I was like, screw it. I don't want to get it and like not get it and then regret it for some reason. But yeah, this is definitely something you can wait on and sit at and just chill and just wait on sale. Honestly, I doubt this game did very well. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if like a lot of other people had the exact same opinion as me, and I wasn't happy with it. You know, when you play stuff like this is something you'd rather, this is one of those examples where you play it, you'd rather go back and just play the other games. You know, and unfortunately that's what kind of some franchises do, is they put out something so bad that like forces you to kind of appreciate the older stuff more. But that's never really like a good thing, and it's like, hey, give me more of what I like. I don't want to dog in your stuff and not have you make anything at all. I don't want your franchise to fail and never come out with anything ever again. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But just do better. You know, we're the customers, we're the players, and, you know, yes, it's up to you guys to make the game, but we're the ones that are buying it. If it wasn't for us, there would be no game. If it wasn't for you, there'd be no game. It's a teamwork kind of effort here, and we're working together, and we want a product that does well and that sells well, and we want to be proud of that and proud of you, Sega, and see them at their very best doing what they do. And it's not done well here. Dude, even the map was just, you can ping multiple stuff, which was cool. You can't see all of the regions. You like, you can only see like there's like one giant section of town, and then there's kind of these off places. You can't see any of that, so half the time you're sitting there like trying to read your sub stories. You have to really go out of your way to do a lot of stuff here. You can't just like, okay, I need to go here, I need to do that, I need to talk to this person. Great. So simple, dude. And here you have to go from tab to tab just to find out what to do with this thing. The UI is awful. The quality of life is just awful. It's easy to get stuck on things. The camera's wobbly as crap, like I mentioned earlier. You know, I just, the dimensions or the depth of something didn't really work out here. Because, I mean, let's face it, all the games are a little wonky, but I don't think they were ever this bad. I mean, granted, it took me a minute to kind of get used to the game, but you kind of hop in being like, oh, I've done this before, right? It feels and looks very different. So yeah, even with all my experience, it still did take me like some time to really get a feel for it. Which even then, you're thinking right off the bat, like, is this good? Is this bad? I don't know. Like, the second I got in, I was lost. I didn't know where to go, what to do, who to talk to. I think when you have that kind of pit in your stomach, gut feeling, like, when you literally start the game up, that's a bad sign. That's not good. Granted, on some more positive notes, I mean, the game did look great. Their faces were very detailed. But one thing they tried to do was make things look so detailed and real that it was so obvious that it was fake. Like some of the trees in the background, some textures of the food. Yeah, I don't know. But obviously it was still very like cartoony and wacky, but yeah, there wasn't as much comedy here. It was, you know, it was just a different time, a different attitude, a different, you know, way of life, and you know, people were bored back then. They didn't have shit to do, man. So all they did was kill each other with swords and eat shit, go to the bathroom. Yeah, wasn't really a lot to do back then, was there? Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why it took so long, I think, to get to where Yakuza is today, is because they ran out of good ideas. They ran out of stuff to do. You can kind of see it slipping more and more too. With, unfortunately, Like a Dragon wasn't even very impressive to me either. It just, I don't know. If they keep going down this road, I'm not really sure. Thankfully, you know, there is still some Yakuza games I can play and finish, and I'm pretty thankful for that. Or I can get back into some older ones, finish some stuff up if I really wanted to. So this isn't like the end all be all, but for other people it might be. That's the thing. Maybe everyone has really had their fix and their fill of what Yakuza has given to them up until now, and this is what we get. Like, even Like a Dragon isn't that old. It hasn't been out for that long, and that's a big, long game, you know, that'll really keep you busy for quite a while. And then we get this out of nowhere, it feels like. We're like, where did this game come from? It came out, and then people were like, ooh, Kiryu, Yakuza, ooh, this looks cool, interesting. That's what trailers do, though. It makes it look interesting. And I think once you play it, you'll be like, ugh. It just leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and like... Granted, I think when you get this game, you're gonna know what to expect. Like, you should be having some questions and seeing red flags immediately. As a newcomer, I'll give you that like, yeah, this is a great game. If you want to start with this, if you've only played 1 or 2 games before, I mean, this is definitely something to pick up and try. I'll say that much. But beyond that, man, if you truly do like Yakuza and hold it close to you, and you're gonna be disappointed. I've been making good and bad points this entire time. Another good point is Kiryu is still a very nice guy. He's still very chill, very caring, very nurturing, very kind, genuine, honest. He's still the same Kiryu we always love. It's just he happens to have a different name. His hair is a little different. Granted, if you got the deluxe edition, you can literally make him look just like Kiryu. There's a Kiryu costume in the outfit section. Got plenty of deluxe edition coats to use. They give you materials for the deluxe edition. You can use an odachi, you can use a spear, you can use axes, guns obviously, cannons, swords. You can still do training stuff and fighting and get better and really get good at, you know, doing your thing. I think if you get the deluxe edition, they do kind of spoil you a little bit, but that's fine. They give you like swords, like way overpowered swords that you would normally not have at all, which I don't mind. I mean, hey, if it gives me a good head start, I'm all about it. I'm just trying to help you out, you know, it's just fine. Either way, right? Yeah, I normally don't like deluxe editions because I just don't really care for them anymore. Like extra shit that I don't really want. Just let me play the game and I'm happy. But here they kind of did, you know, put me up against a wall, and I'm like, well, I want to get on the new game thing and, you know, see what it's all about and try to keep up with that. And a lot of new games have been coming out, and a lot of them are still coming out after the Game Awards, and you know, there's a lot to look forward to, and this is one of the games I wanted to get. And I think once again I'm just kind of like just didn't really like. There's other games I probably would have rather got than this, and oh well, though, it's over. I played it, you know, I tried, I did my part, I did it, I accomplished it, I followed through, which wasn't easy to do. I was about to give up on it. I think about halfway in, I think I was just ready to quit. But that's the thing, I did enjoy it enough to finish it. Like, it's not all bad. There are good things here. But it just depends on how much that's gonna weigh in on your opinions and stuff. Like, can the good overcome the bad? Can the bad overcome the good? It's just gonna kind of all fall on you and how you're gonna perceive playing this game. Yeah. Take my words of wisdom, my knowledge. Probably didn't have to explain too much, but I did want to give a warning to those who might appreciate that to just maybe stay away from it. I think it'll leave. I think you'll look at Yakuza in a very bad light after this, and you're gonna like kind of sit there and be like, they had the audacity to put this game out, charge full price, whatever, and on top of all the greedy deluxe edition pre-order nonsense shit that they did, it's a lot. It's not even that great of a time era piece. Like, you know, we all know this stuff. We all realize the war back then, guns, the English, trade, colonizing, opening up Japan up, whatever you. I mean, dude. Granted, if you're someone who's never really been around a lot of that stuff, great. This is a great game for you, I guess. It's historical, you know. It's one thing the modern Yakuza games, or the, you know, never really gave a shit about, because it's like, yeah, it's this is the time that I've been here, and I was there. I'm here now. We weren't here hundreds of years ago, you know, or however long ago this took place. So that is cool. I mean, I just think it's way too different. It's way too opposite of what we're used to, and I think they could have stuck with what they're doing. But like I said, let's go to America. Go to the UK, if anything. It doesn't have to be America, right? Travel the world. Go somewhere. Do something, Kiryu. That's what we love to see. We love to see this guy grow, get older, all these things, right? Technically, as of right now, he's an old man. Let him retire. Let him travel a bit. Let him go somewhere and do something, you know? Make new friends. See old friends. I know Japan's really good at, like, focusing on their country and themselves and, you know, working with that. But that's the thing, they've always had Americans in their game. They've always implemented English people into their game. Foreigners, gaijins, white people. Don't be afraid to take that concept and expand upon it. Do something with it, because you guys will go there, but you won't go there. Like, it's so... You were this close to a... You could have made your next game so cool, but you didn't. And it makes me sad. Yeah. Yakuza